Blessings, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and everything else in between, wherever you start listening to this any time of your day around the world. I am your host, the one and only Mr. LP, and welcome to Enliven Global Media's podcast. Today is January 9th of the new year. Happy New Year for those who didn't get us last week and things. I appreciate you and love you, and good day to you all. Today, we are going to have a very serious conversation. This is going to be a powerful broadcast, so if you can't handle the truth, you can't handle what's going on and facts or what have you, if you're easily offended, turn the channel off because we're about to get into it today. First and foremost, today we're going to talk about the crumbling infrastructure within the U.S., especially what's going on in Richmond and the fires out west and so much more. But I want everybody to make sure you chime, share the broadcast and everything else in between. But before we get into this wonderful broadcast, I need to make sure that we introduce our lovely hosts that I pay a lot of money to make sure they're on here today with us and things. So it costs a lot. So please show them the lovely respect that they deserve. First and foremost, I have the one and only Miss Queen Anika Walston. How are you doing today? And please tell, for those who are not familiar, please tell us how, a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Anika Walston, and I am a licensed mental health professional counselor.
Awesome. And you are here based in Richmond, Virginia, correct?
I am in Chester, Virginia.
Oh, well, Chester, whatever. Well, you're in Virginia. That's all that matters. Okay. Then today we also, and first off, welcome back. You've been gone for like 2 months. Told us 2 weeks and gone for 2 months. Do you see how people do? So just going on vacation. Tell us a little bit what was going, just for a quick second, how was your vacation?
My vacation was wonderful. I went to the Maldives Islands for some peace, serenity, and some restoration. And so I took some time out to regroup. No, the Maldives is not a party island. It's a Muslim-based island. Everything was peaceful. All it was water. So I am very blessed. I came back somewhat restored because it got me through the month thereafter that I wasn't present. And I'm very happy to be back right now.
All right. That's work. And I thank you very much to be happy. It's not the same. We really needed you and things like that, but we're glad that you're back. And things.
I'm Miss Tracy too, so yeah.
Exactly. We're definitely grateful for that. And now the one and only Miss Raw Silk. How are you doing today, Queen?
I am doing fine, Mr. LP, and I am so happy that my sister friend is back, safe and sound and peaceful. I've seen her pictures and was jealous. When I grow up, I want to be just like her.
I understand. And for those who do not know who you are, because usually it's a blank slate when you talk, but for those who do not know who you are, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am Tracy Hodney Scott, better known as Raw Silk. I am a community actionist as well as an award-winning author. I love being able to say that, an award-winning author and just all around nice queen.
No problem. Well, I thank you both on. And we will soon be joined by possibly Miss Epps and also Kay Monta if she's able to join and things like that. Either way, we're happy to have everybody who's able to join and watch us and things. This is very important. So today's show is about the infrastructure and things that's going on in Richmond, Virginia, and also just actually around the world. Unfortunately, the U.S. is a growing in budget, just around the country. It's growing, it's expanding, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as you do so, you have to take care of things and more importantly, take care of business. One of the things that has not been taken care of is our infrastructure, our roads, buildings, water, a whole bunch of different things with infrastructure, which is now leading us to having not only disasters when Mother Nature, good Lord, decides to do certain things, but at the end of the day, we're not prepared. We're constantly caught off guard. And in 2024, going to 2025, there's no reason for this, regardless, anywhere in the United States. People seem to forget home training, life skills. Granted, we're advancing technology, but still common sense should not be missing in how to conduct yourself. People are burning their homes due to foolishness. We're not allowing fires to happen and water breaking. And in this situation here today, we had another conversation, but we're going to talk about this because it needs to be had. Richmond, Virginia, a few days ago experienced a massive water breakage in the system. Now, some are saying it's fire, some say it's a water pipe, whatever. Unfortunately, we do not know the truth of what's going on. We have our suspicions, we have our insights, but what's going on is that the people were not made aware until after the fact, way late. And resulting, if you let people know ahead of time, we could have probably saved some water, boil some water, fill up your tub, the normal things that you're supposed to do. Unfortunately, too late. Now schools are closed, and now we are in a major state of crisis. Hospitals, our senior homes, SPCA, those who are in need from group homes, mentally challenged, those who are seniors who are within their homes who cannot get to places. It's terrible. In addition, we've been rapidly opening up either hotels, gyms, what have you. Disappointing is that people are focusing on the wrong things, such as, color, a whole bunch of other stuff. Traditionally, Richmond, for the central part, south side, and east end is fading into Mechanicsville and also Chesterfield, North Chesterfield area. It's been majority minority culture, Black and Hispanic and Asian. And unfortunately, traditionally, the lower end of the income. There's some spots as well, but lower income. And now we are not having the things that we need. So before I go into a little bit further, I want to share the thoughts of our host. I want to go first with Ross Silk. I want to get you in this first. Your thoughts. Uh-oh. You're trying to get in, lost. Oh, sorry. You're still on your first camera. Were you trying to get in? You just have it muted. Can you unmute? Okay. No, you got it on a computer. You can't have it both together at the same time.
I'm trying to get in on the computer because I'm tired of holding the phone, but it won't let me unmute. So okay. I'll just have to stay on the phone.
That's not a problem.
So my thoughts. This had to happen. And unfortunately, it had to happen because it had to expose exactly the foolishness that some of us have been talking about in Richmond City for the longest time, as far as where their priorities are, what money is being spent on. It doesn't matter about the fire and all of this other stuff, critical theories that are coming out. The fact of the matter is that you didn't have a plan, number one. Number two is we know a patch job when we see it, especially those of us that are mechanically inclined. Okay, I do have a background in facilities. And so realistically, this is years of age, poor maintenance, poor preventative maintenance, and not replacing what needed to be replaced when it was done. I think that it's ironic that it happened at the first of the year when Richmond got his new mayor, who was once in charge of the whole COVID thing, and we know how that happened in the city of Richmond, and now we have another disaster on our hands. I think one of the things that I was talking to with one of my progressive sisters yesterday is we have to be also really, really wary. Things that people don't pay attention to, like racism in utilities. And you and I talk about this all the time, Mr. LP. We talk about where the 5G towers automatically pop up. We talk about where you could always see where the telephone lines and everything goes across and what neighborhoods they're put in the fiber optics. We can talk about how people in Richmond pay more for their utility from Dominion Power than people in Henrico County. So it had to happen because the Band-Aid had to come off. When I moved here from New York City, I lived in Henrico County, and I did not ever have a clue that Henrico County pulled some of its water from Richmond. And ironically, there's people in Henrico County that didn't know it until yesterday. And so now we are learning that not only does Henrico County, but Hanover and even parts of Goochland pulls from Richmond water. I think the problem that I'm having is I have so many problems, but one of the problems that I have is truth. Um, Preparing the people, just like COVID, we're not prepared. First of all, it took you almost 10 hours before you let the community know what was going on. That means that people was drinking contaminated water, right? When you listen to, but a lot of people don't know how to decipher buzzwords and words that sound real good and make you feel like something is happening, but it really, really isn't. The key word that stuck out to me in today's interview was that the water was going through corroded pipes. Now, this plant is over 100 years old. And if you're telling me that the pipes are now corroded, that means that there's some form of lead that's in those pipes. Because if those pipes have not been changed, if they've not been upgraded, if they've not been modernized to when we got, remember, at the height of lead contamination, the water was contaminated anyway. Okay, those people that live in Richmond know that there are times that the water stains your toilet, okay, and leaves a red ring inside or a yellow ring inside your toilet. Those of us that come through Richmond on a regular, Richmond is one of the only municipals that you could drive through and you know exactly where the water treatment plant is because it smells like holy hell, okay, and especially during the summertime.
Let me give you some information regarding that for a little bit of context that I pulled up. The first Richmond plant, well, it was one of the original ones in the country. It initially started, the public works was in 1830. Okay. Now, the municipal plant modernized and first was back in 1958 was the first water treatment plant overall was inaugurated, making a significant advance to the water system. Now, the Clean Water Act, national and federal for improvement throughout the whole country was in 1972. Okay. And now we have what we got here. Now in 72, the water plant pollutants was discharged from the Richmond water. In addition, there was a development of a combined sewer overflow management system to help make sure the raw sewage entering the combined sewer overflow management, where the combined sewer system wastewater was not using by the same shared pipes as well. There's supposed to be quality water management and so forth. Now, unfortunately, in 2022, Richmond was cited by several organizations as to the problems of the water and needed to be updated and go from there. And also another key stat that we're going to, I'll save that for a moment. But basically, in 2022, I'm trying to pull it. Yeah,
but I think
EPA.
I think, Mr. LP, don't just say organizations, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, cited them.
Right. For corrosion and structural concerns that it cannot handle a major issue. And these things are not only supposed to be fixed, not only for a standpoint for us, but this also leads us to be vulnerable, to, can you get it? Are you there?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, the EPA. Okay, all right. The leads us vulnerable for if we ever attack or anything else. One of the first things, you don't got to kill people, you can just destroy the infrastructure, roads, power, everything else, and that's what happens there. So you can't have both. We got an echo there. Sorry. Okay. So that's what happens there. Anika, please feel free to join in.
I was going to ask you to repeat that last part because I heard the echo and I couldn't hear you.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was saying that this leads us to being extremely vulnerable to attacks outside, either within domestic and also international attacks. Because you can destroy anything. That's why you see gates around power plants or nuclear power plants or what have you. Any danger can cause a major problem structurally for various parts of the U.S. So when you have those different things and no protection, this is what happens, and you leave us vulnerable. You know, something small as that should not have caused this massive damage, where now you're affecting almost 500,000 people in the area.
Exactly.
And
We didn't even have this breakdown in Richmond when Gaston came through, and that was a terrible, terrible storm. We seen buses floating down the street during Gaston. We seen apartment buildings up underneath water. We seen the whole bottom submerged underwater, and that didn't happen. But that little snowstorm that happened the other day, all of a sudden wiped out the infrastructure. It was going. And I think that is critical to mention again that the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, cited them in 2022. And it's important to note that the city of Richmond did not respond until January 5th, 2025, just a few days before this disaster. That's
exactly.
That's important.
So my question is, so they don't, how do they, like, you know how you're supposed to inspect things, you're supposed to do the upkeep, and I know we're talking about infrastructure. There's no one that has an authority over that to say every year they're checking this, or it's not looked at until it's broken. Is that
when you're in facilities management, you do daily inspections on something that operates that. Normally there's an inspection protocol that's put into place, and the person who went and tested it and checked it, they have to sign their signature with the time and the date that they did it. Okay, and gone. When we listen to the director of the department go, I believe the way it's supposed to work. No. As the director, you should know how it works. Okay. When you use buzzwords like I believe and I'm under the impression, that means that you don't know. That means why are you sitting in the seat? And I can guarantee you, watching the way that this thing plays out, heads are going to roll. There's going to be people that's fired or voluntarily resign. Number one. Richmond complains about spending money to help the homeless, right? But they can come up with money for an animal shelter. Well, guess what? I hope their pockets and their checkbook is deep, because you best believe that Henrico, Hanover, and Goochland is going to be coming after them for some money. Okay. Okay. And that doesn't even factor in the amount of claims that people are going to be put in for reimbursement. There's going to be a few lawsuits. Some of them may be frivolous, some of them may not, of people that drank toxic water before you allowed them to know that this is happening. You got businesses that lost a considerable amount of money and revenue. So yeah, Richmond is going to be paying some money. And I think the most unsincere thing is to try to act like tomorrow, all of a sudden, the magic wand is going to wave and we go back to as normal. That's not, this thing is going to take months before it is fully cleared out. You're not going to tell me that I deal with sanitation waste all the time, right? You're not going to tell me that you're going to do a test on water, right? And then do another one in 16 hours and then get the green thumb to go ahead and start drinking the water again. People will be foolish to believe that.
What's going on, really, the sad part about all of this is that those of us who lived, and I'm trying not to sound foolish, let's backtrack. We've talked about this. I don't know if you remember, Silk, about the infrastructure and the water problems some years ago in our first iteration of the show, about the problems and what needs to happen. When we had about, 3-4 years ago, when we had this big snowstorm up and down 95 and then all of this stuff that's happened and shut problems down. And those who roughly remember, I wasn't living in Richmond at the time, but it was all over the global news. In the 90s, we had a couple, I think it was in 94 and 95, correct me, but we had some major rainstorms, freezing rain. And the power lines all over Richmond, it was all over the international news. Power lines in Richmond shut down. And we were out of power for 3 weeks? And throughout Richmond, people were coming to Charlottesville, everywhere else. This is ridiculous. The other thing that's of note is that the communities that had other things or what have you that's surrounding the area, Powhatan, Amelia, Petersburg, Hanover, New Kent, Goochland, all these other areas need to, instead of granted, everybody's mad, and you have every right to be mad. But it was now as a time we need to start working together. Now, what happened is that because Richmond, Henrico, Chesterfield usually sticking the middle finger to these areas because you don't got no money, you're not part of us attitude. Now we're getting back. We're now in this get back, but we don't need to have that right now because this is not part of it is political, yes. But at the end of the day, this is a human rights, safety, life issue. In addition, downtown has tremendously gentrified that area of Richmond. Now, overall, Richmond has actually lost a little bit of population by a few grand. Right now, we're looking at 230,000 people, but it's now almost 50-50, black, white, what have you. And downtown area is now 70%. But you built little over 32 different apartment complexes within the downtown area. And you increased about another 40,000 people that migrated from the county into the city. Where in the world you think that type of pressure was going to happen? When you have a whole bunch of area on 95 up from Willis Road all the way up before you get downtown, a bunch, except for that docking area where the shipping containers, you got 6-7 miles of open space, brownfields, that's not being used other than maybe if the deer's not even over in that area that you could use to expand the treatment. You could build stadiums. You could have put the casino that we were fighting over there. It's a whole bunch of area free. And we're not utilizing what we have, but you want to grow. Richmond cannot stay old school and still trying to claim themselves the, top dog in this area. And our mindset has to change. And it's sad where the missing education from the Reconstruction period on has really played a toll on the South.
But you keep building and building and adding, but not updating. What do you think is going to happen? You keep building all of these big multifamily developments and corporations and everything, and they're all pulling from, when something has got to blow. I just think that this is the time for the government. This is 2025. We're getting ready to have enough lies coming from the federal government in a couple of weeks. The last thing that we need is locally to start off the new year not being truthful, and transparent. And then again, it goes back to, and this is no insult to anybody, but it goes back to the people who didn't pay attention in science class and in math class and all of the other things that you think that we don't need. That because if you knew these things, if basic science, if you knew these things, you can see why what happened and how it's going to go. And it's okay. So yeah, so we spend we come from a city, we've been under those advisories before, Mr. LP, about boiling water and things of that nature. I get it, but it's a little bit more complex in detail. And just to kind of like make it all warm and fuzzy, oh, we'll be back up and normal by Friday or at least by Monday, that's disingenuous. That is not true. That is not true. There's going to be ongoing water testing. And the fact of the matter is, the cat is out of the bag now. You said that the pipes are corroded. If they are corroded, that means that the water is going through contaminated pipes. What is that corrosion doing to the water? Okay, what is happening? There's so many conversations that we can say behind the 8 ball. Our children have now been out of school a whole week. What is the plan if this thing, we got another storm coming? Are these kids going to be out of school another week? Why haven't we been hearing any conversation of what the plan is if these kids can't return back to school on Monday? Or can they go virtual? It's something. I mean, we have senior citizens that's out there that we know, you did it. People did it for me on my behalf. Family members did it, delivering water to people who could not get out, who aren't able to drive around and stuff. So this thing is a huge, huge mess. Okay, it's a huge mess. The lack of education there, no one even said to these people until we started talking about it, is other people on social media, which seems to be the educators now going, hey, listen, if you got renter's insurance, You might want to check your renter's insurance policy. You might be covered and they put you in a hotel for a few days so you can bathe and shower because it may be in your rental insurance policy. These are things that a lot of people just get rental insurance because their apartment community says they need it. They never feel like they're going to use it, so they never even know what their policy entails. What happens when the city is back up? What are they going to do about these water bills that people haven't had water, but you're still going to be sending out your bills because it's already programmed into the system automatic, and it normally reads it and splits the gallons between, households or whatever, and generates a bill. These are conversations that we need to hear what's happening. Why haven't we requested for emergency food stamps for people who are exhausting their food stamps buying water?
Hmm. There's another
Why
thing. Go ahead, Go ahead, Queen.
why hasn't it been declared a state of emergency? What has to happen for it to be? Who is not being held accountable for that?
The rule of glad that you brought that up. Pull that back up because there needs to be one. There was a recent update that EPA is going to come back down, but did not. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, did not play a prominent role in distributing water. This is because FEMA typically becomes involved when a federal disaster declaration is made, which did not occur. So the governor has not, and the mayor has not worked with FEMA to discuss this. Governor Glenn Youngkin declared a state of emergency, enabling the activation of the Virginia National Guard and deployment of state resources. The National Guard provides water tankers to support essential services. Now, they've been expanding around. Initially, for Henrico, it was over the government center and also the rec center, but it was like 300-400 cars around by the line, and it was just a disaster of setting that up. Now, I don't want to blame the people who are working in those situations or the officers. They dealt with what little information and resources that they could. Let's be mindful. Okay, let's not chew out. There were fights, there were arguments. I want people to be cautious that let's be mindful that it was not their fault. Okay, the officers, everything else, they're dealing with what limited information. So we have to be mindful with that. Two, we're going to go across some other things regarding what we could do regarding water. Let me also give you some key information here that's not being told. Facts. During the inspection, found out that regular inspection has not been performed on a consistent daily, weekly, and monthly basis. Limited preventive and corrective maintenance has been done. The last emergency response plan was updated in 2017. Lack of tabletop emergency scenarios planning exercises for large-scale power failures and water failures. Inadequate redundancy systems as evident by the recent water crisis. We don't have no redundancy at all. Dozens of violations of federally regulatory standards in terms of employment rights, paying, and operations on site. Failure to comply with some regulatory requirements designed to prevent major disruptions, such as terrorist attacks, both domestic and international, acts of God nature, and further on, and other equipment failure. Delayed response to EPA findings, the city not providing a formal response until the date was January 3rd, more than 2 years after the audit. So basically 3 years. Also, to your point, Silk, inadequate testing backup systems, including, we didn't have a system to test the backup, including battery backups for IT systems. Nothing. And insufficient preparedness for potential outages and what we would do regarding water and things, which goes towards the resources. This is what was going on within our water system. And as those of you may know, during the recent mayor debates and things, one of the questions was, should the water system, which is owned and controlled by Richmond City, should it be outsourced to an outside agency? That's been a raging debate as well for the last few years. And things.
So did these pipes just get corroded overnight? Because it takes a while for corrosion. So I hear that, but somebody has to notice this if you are doing your job. So we're saying in the last 3 years, this is what has occurred?
No, this last 3 years that they haven't responded in 3 years to the federal government.
So
But no,
it had to be corroded before the 3 years ago. Though.
right,
That's what I'm saying. This
right.
is
The
ongoing. And so
corrosion
I know
is
you're saying
started
you
in
don't blame anybody, but it's
no.
definitely the people who have salaries who are supposed to govern these things to keep that city safe. So why
No,
are
I
they
was
not being held accountable?
okay for two things. One, they were started corrosion since 1972. To answer that question, but I was saying not blaming the supervisors and people who's in charge of all of this. Yes, they are the ones that need to be held in charge. I'm talking when I say not to blame. I was talking about the people who just like show up to do the work and they filling in the bottles and you yelling and they just filling the water. They don't know what's going on. They're everyday people. Sort of like, you blaming the firefighters yelling at them, but they didn't start the fire, who was, that type of thing, focus the energy on the anger and things on the people at charge, not the frontline people who's trying to save their life and do their job, is get after our votes and everything else. So this is not just a recent thing for Richmond, and this is not a recent thing domestically. We are this 2 shakes away from being Flint, Michigan, who they still have not fixed the problems 20-something years later. And that's what's going on. And the fact that, again, there's a racial dynamic that was going on into this because basically, since the majority served the majority of people of color, and at that time, 70% Black, 73% Black, they chose not to. And this is a fault.
Say that again. They did what?
Majority of Richmond was for many years have been, except for recent years, was 72-73% Black, especially in the downtown Churchill and the lower income areas. And the effort was not made because it was focused on everything else. And unfortunately, when it becomes a majority of us, the care is not there. Probably when they look to upgrade it, and when the casino, if we were doing a casino thing at the time, they probably would have upgraded infrastructure because what you're going to do. You can't put any more hotels and things like that, and you don't have water. But that's what's going on, and you'll see the.
What did you call it? What did you call it? Racist utilities? What did you call it?
It's racism and utility.
Racism and utilities, and that's literally what it is. Not just here, but anywhere. Because look at the majority of the areas. Only when it's that's happening. It's very low income, farm-based areas, and what have you, and it's just racism and what they charge.
The thing that I say to Queen is this is where it comes back in letting the people be informed, right? Because there are things that are things, but because people don't pay attention to them, there's a whole environmental justice system that monitors environmental justice. The NAACP has an environmental justice chair that monitors environmental justice for this very reason. So you would not have these things if they weren't needed. Okay. But historically, forever and ever, our communities always get what's second best. It's always thrown what's second best. And so this comes as no surprise to me because just keep in mind the majority, like Mr. LP said, the majority of the parts of Richmond has only recently been updated and integrated, right? Like Blackwell is now Manchester. Okay, so those pipes and everything was good when it was just Blackwell. You see what I'm saying? And so we have to pay attention to those things. And people think that when you say that until situations like this happen, it's no different than when COVID happened. We've seen where all of the PPE went first, right? We've seen who got all of the masks and all of the hand sanitizers and everything, because we'll always get what's left. I honestly feel that if Henrico wasn't affected by this and Weston Henrico wasn't afraid of it, that it wouldn't get as much noise and publicity as it did. And Mr. LP is smiling because he's seen that I put my post on social media that said, can Henrico leadership please take over for Richmond, please? Because he knows exactly where I'm coming from. Those board of supervisors got together immediately. The Henrico NAACP got together immediately. This is not a game. This is an all hands on deck. Now, I'll be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to give a shout out to all of the people that's out in the community that did the damn thing. They came together, they
Mhm.
delivered water. There's a young lady that I have respect for. Her name is Amy Wynn. She put out the call, and people would come into her with trucks and getting water. My niece and them went up to Walmart and met the governor and talked them into giving them a pallet of water so she could deliver to her whole apartment community building with Charles Willis. So there was people out there, boots on the ground, Rhonda Sneed, that made sure the homeless had water. So we've got to acknowledge those people because they're doing the work that our own leadership couldn't get done. And there's a difference between doing things and then doing things for a photo op. Okay, doing things for a little pomp and circumstance so you could stand with a bottle of water in your hand and hand it to a black person and get a picture, and then it becomes a part of your damn website. There's a difference. Ain't nobody falling for the banana in the tailpipe anymore. Okay. We
Exactly.
know okey doke when we see it. But there were people that still out boots on the ground doing what needs to be done. You know what I'm saying and stuff. Even shout out to restaurants that normally don't even let you come in to use their restroom, letting people come in to use their restrooms, and uh businesses that have showers, letting people to come and take showers. The thing that always says to me is the same thing, like we had this conversation when 9/11 hit. How is it that we can come together as a people when a crisis like this hits, but we can't do this on a daily basis? Always blows my mind. I think Mr. LP is correct. Even with the new mayor, we can't hold him responsible. That man only been in office for 6 days. Okay, we can't hold him responsible for what happened, but we can hold him responsible going forward to make sure that it doesn't happen again, that the situation is fixed, that people who are in the position that don't need to be in the position are removed, and that we can entrust that all of the measures that are supposed to be taking place for the safety of the community at large is taking place. And if not, then you need to be put on notice.
Let me also throw on with that even though he's in place, and this may not be as far. I'm disappointed in the emergency in terms of communication out to the community. That part is on there, regardless of anything in office and things. And even as if you're even if you're installing your infrastructure in your base, I get it. 6 days in, at some point in time, somebody has to step up and take charge. It's not about getting permission, things like that. Just step up and deal with the aftermath later. I'm going to be honest and put myself on Front Street. If I was communication officer or internet, whatever, I would have long put a statement, got the information put out there. I wouldn't have bothered. I don't care who. All due respect to Vula, Mosby, whoever, we're getting everything done. I would have gone online. Hi, here's the resources. This is what's going on immediately, whatever. They would have been probably mad at me. I don't care. This is literally a life or death situation. And things like that. And so
go look at Henrico. Henrico has a whole website up and dedicated to just this. So you don't have to go searching around their website. They have a website that they put up and literature out just for this. And then just the common sense things, right? So we have the mayor standing on TV with the police chief and the fire chief, right? And not once do we let the fire chief talk with some critical information like, during this time, please don't burn candles. During this time, when you put a pot on the stove, please be mindful and don't forget that you got that pot on the stove, because we're infamous for putting pots on the stove, forgetting that water evaporates as it starts boiling. And the next thing you know, the pot is boiling. We burn it. We can't afford to have no fires. There's no water. So just common sense, every hour on the hour, some form of common sense should be broadcasted to the people. Okay.
Yeah, the emergency response system, like, we have that, this is only a test of the emergency response system. There's only a test. They need
Right.
that should have went out like this. And things like, I know that paid my heart, trust me. But we do everything can. Let me be responsible. Before we continue, I want to be responsible. Thank you for everybody that's listening and watching. Thank you. Share. Please share. Even if you catch this later, please share. And we're going to go over some, I'm going to go over some tips and things. Trust me, we're going to definitely get to that. But I want to be respectful to everybody listening. Thank you for watching. Also, our one person is responding, Mr. Stuart Martin Spears. I want to get his comment in. Now, reading it for those who may be listening and may not be able to see us. May not be the most popular suggestion, but the city of Richmond, Virginia city charter needs to be dissolved by the General Assembly and then merge or be split up between Henrico and Chesterfield County as districts, but still be a locality as a state capital. Not to overlook the incompetence, but this is so much about a city that's just not capable of governing in a time in such a large demand services. I used the Charlotte, North Carolina, and Mecklenburg County as a possibility, a stretch, but this is, when you get a chance, sir, please send back the comment for the rest of it. Things, but you make a good point. A lot of areas just merged. Now, let's be mindful of those who are not history. This whole area was at one point just Richmond. Okay, and they split up. Not too long ago, parts of Richmond Chesterfield went to North Chester. You still got some areas a little bit, but slowly but surely, you will see addresses like Tuckahoe, Virginia, which was just Henrico or Richmond. North Chester, part of Chesterfield was Richmond. Now they named themselves to North Chesterfield. So they're slowly splitting these different parts here, hedging their bets.
So wasn't Henrico here first? I thought
no.
Richmond came out of Henrico.
I believe it was Richmond. I believe it was Richmond first. I have to double check on that, but there's some. I will check on that. But yes, either way, there needs to be some merging of resources, because let's just be honest here, okay? Henrico and Richmond, Chesterfield can't function without each other. Okay, that's just what it is. And when we do these things, it's only if Richmond residents, if only Henrico residents, we need to stop the foolishness and the BS with this and start working together. Okay, our other communities, Petersburg, Hopewell, Colonial Heights, Dinwiddie, that's one area. Mechanicsville, out there, Hanover.
Just to give you a little context, I was right. So Richmond was a part of Henrico until 1842.
Yes, I just read it.
It became an independent city, yeah. Because I know I lived in Henrico. Henrico was first. Richmond was birthed out of Henrico. So how is it that you're birthed out of the city that got their shit together and you don't?
Well, that's because it sounds like they separated.
Exactly. That's what happens when you separate and people don't communicate, collaborate. This is what happens.
But it looks like they separated for the exact reason you were talking about, because it's a racism thing. Because now it looks like collectively the areas that were lower income are based out of Richmond and the Henrico surrounding areas. You're cool if you live in Henrico. So that's what that sounds like.
Now I have a question. I thought Richmond, Virginia was established in 1737, not 18. The city
of Richmond was officially part of Henrico County until
1842.
Yes,
it was a part of Henrico County, and then they did the split, and Richmond became fully independent.
And it surrounded Henrico surrounded that. That's what I'm reading.
But what happened? Okay, part of this is not. And I'm sorry, I'm not arguing. I'm trying to make sure I understand.
No, we're gonna figure it out
because Henrico.
Okay, Richmond was founded in 1737 by Colonel William Byrd,
and it was fully incorporated as a separate city in 1782. Only reason why I'm remembering that is because, and I went better check because as part of indoctrinating when you go to school in Virginia, they're going to make sure you know your damn Richmond racist history. So I was like, wait a second, it came incorporated in 1782. So what's the part of that is not making sense to me after in Richmond, and keep in mind, Richmond has a long history from Civil War and everything else.
Yeah, but when did you say Richmond was from when?
Richmond was fully incorporated. Richmond was established in 1737. It was fully.
Okay. Henrico was established in 1634.
So
Okay.
yeah.
And Richmond was fully incorporated in 1782.
Yeah.
I gotta double check that.
Yeah, so Henrico was first, and Richmond was birthed out of Henrico. Henrico was
Exactly.
1634.
So it sounds like Henrico had an area that is now called Richmond that was founded by this
Exactly.
whoever. And then
Actually,
what it did was Henrico then surrounded Richmond, unless we're reading it wrong.
okay,
Henrico County is one of the oldest counties in Virginia, established in 1634 as one of the 8 original shires or counties.
It was actually, I don't know why I say 1634, it was 1611. It was Henricus and settlement by Prince Henry of Wales. But now Henrico, but it says Henrico County is a part of Richmond. Well, okay, now I'm sorry. Currently, Henrico County is part of Richmond metropolitan area. But you know, from a global world city, we're like a level 4 city, not even a level 3. But we're the capital, which makes some sense. But you know, as major of a role. But we digress. I want to go over some things that needs to be talked about, and I've had several arguments with a few people about this because it makes no sense. And this is something I want people to understand. Because say that again, ma'am.
No, you haven't argued, have you? Not you.
Not you.
No, I never argue with people and things like that. You know, hey, I tried my best. Before I get into that, you was going to make a comment, Nika.
No, I wasn't.
Okay, I'll say.
Don't try to set me up. I simply wanted to have that conversation about Henrico and understanding Richmond because I don't know a lot about Richmond. But it is very interesting to have these conversations because I never thought about Richmond being predominantly African American. And now I'm thinking Abe Lincoln and I'm thinking Civil War and I'm thinking slave. And I'm like, yes, that makes sense now.
Richmond, yeah, it was a lot. Now, just to give you a little bit of context, there's 47 cities in the U.S. that are now officially declared. We know there's more problems, but officially there's 47 cities, and you'll be surprised which cities we already have a problem. Now, Flint, Michigan is since 2014. We already know about that, but Jackson, Mississippi, right, still going. Jackson, Mississippi. Baltimore, Maryland, which is surrounded by nothing but damn water, which makes no sense. Houston, Texas, which really makes no sense, and San Jose, California. Some of the major, and three of the top 10 cities in the U.S. have water issues all about, which makes no sense. They
sound very African American, also. Because tell me which one it does not.
San Jose, California is nowhere near.
Heavily, sure, because I didn't hear San Jose though, but I just want to make sure because I'm trying to see about this minority thing.
Houston has a large contingent, but it's still not the majority. And Baltimore is like half and half over there. Now the region, especially West Baltimore. But now we had several discussions about people want to start washing water, wash their clothes. And I keep saying, no, you need to just wait. If you have a home washer, boil the water and just take your time and put it back in. If you have to, and have some more water ready for the rinse, if you have to do so, or go out to your surrounding regions. Yes, it's far, but you're just gonna have to hold on your own, or go back to hand washing your damn clothes. Stop acting like you weren't raised with some damn sense. Well, let me take that back. Many probably were.
Right, because some of them weren't. They don't know how to wash their clothes.
I'm just like, well, like, the joy. I mean, come on now. What did many of you do in college when you didn't have anything? Come on. But like some of the fans they want to talk.
2 separate generations, and we've had this conversation instantaneously. And I had this conversation with some sister friends of mine, right? Instantaneously before. I didn't even know that this crisis wasn't going to affect me. But as soon as we found out about it, no one had to tell us anything. We immediately filled up our tubs. We pulled out the big crab boil pots and put them on the stove, the tea kettle, everything was going or whatever before they announced it, because that's when you know how to prepare your household. I've had this conversation with you both of working where people tell me that I'm forcing their kids to eat off of dirty dishes because their dishwasher is not working. And I'm like, you were born with 2 dishwashers. It's called a left and right hand, right? And so realistically, again, this new generation, they don't have that endurance. They don't have that survival you know what I'm saying, of the fittest. When we heard the snowstorm was coming, right? We see people all the time, right? You could always tell who comes from my generation because I'm looking at people and they going in the store and they buying microwavable food and they buying all of this. And I'm like, what happens if you lose power? Okay. Do you have a can opener in your house? Not an electric can opener. Do you have food that you can eat that doesn't require being cooked or heated up? So it's again the things that we stop teaching in school and stop talking about and teaching our kids. They have no survival. Man, Lord knows somebody baby would be done starved to death if they couldn't get to Wawa's and get a sandwich.
I
Or
mean,
just
can we
keeping
not
simple coal in your house. You know, we've always had coal for the grill. Like it's just like survival of the fittest. Like I don't know. What if the internet breaks down? I think we have these conversations often, but this is what we depend on to take care of us. This is what is supposed to be our future. We're supposed to survive.
Here's two things I told some people to do. One, y'all gonna love this one. Okay, there's still snow out there in some areas. Take the daggone trash bag, fill it up with snow, and dump it inside the back of your toilet bowl and let that melt. And call it a day. I posted that, and some people are looking at me like, "Come on, you're doing too much. I ain't doing all that." Well, then survive. Figure it out. Another thing that you could do before I go into this list, you can always dig a hole in the ground, take some wood, take some coal that you probably have in the bag and things, and pull out the grill in your stove. Okay, or better yet, if you don't have and put it on top, light that sucker up, and heat up some cans of beans and put your kettle thing. Now, if you can't even do that, I'll give you another one. I bet you some of y'all still got some wire hangers. Okay, you pull that apart. You pull that sucker apart. Okay, some twigs and tie that sucker up with some twigs and things, and you got a rack right there. Okay, use the twigs at the end so it won't burn it, and your stones around it, and call it a day. And guess what you can do and things like that. Now you're heating some food and things. And those of you who are there's still plenty of people. You know who's laughing at us right now? The indigenous people, and they have every right to be. They're sitting there like at the reservations, like hold my beer.
Foolishness of running to the grocery stores to take everything off the grocery stores that you would not be able to use in the event of a disaster. Yeah, I don't ever do that. You got to run to the grocery store. No, if I have canned goods and I can make bread, we got soup. So, and trust me, it'll work. It absolutely. I'm not going. Why would you waste money for that?
Notice that a lot of these meals now, they tell you it's not just microwavable, what to do if you put it in the oven or whatever, empty it out and put it in a dish and things. There's all those type of things. It's crazy. But now let me give you some things of survival without water. Obviously, minimize your physical activity and things. Stay in cool, shaded, prevent high dehydration. Avoid eating foods that's salty and dry foods. That's going to pull you out there. Collect and purify any rainwater as possible. Remember, I'll give you another word: cheesecloth. Okay, there's things to do what you got to do. Cheesecloth they don't sell the little I'm about to say the douche bag, so please forgive me. But the
hot water bottle. Just leave it there.
Right.
Wow.
Okay, the hot water bottle, other things like that. So stop laughing at me. You know what I'm talking about, face. My grandmother said.
Just say the thing that was in grandma's
I don't think
bathroom.
that there was a bathroom in New York City that didn't have that hideous little red bag hanging over the shower.
My grandmother's pulling it in my ear.
Exactly.
Yes.
Listen, my grandmother's pulling in my ear. Cheesecloth. I heard it. I promise you, she's screaming in my ear. Cheesecloth in the red bag. Cheesecloth in the red bag. But extract water from plants, and you can do all those different things. Solar stills. You know what I'm saying? Hey, they're still out there. Melt the snow and put it in the available. Collect morning dew, natural water springs, all those things. But now, the bandana, cheesecloth, and other things to cover your mouth to reduce the moisture that's lost while you're breathing. Also, those type of things. Now, obviously, preventing waterborne illnesses, algae, and all those things. Boil your water for at least 1 to 3 minutes and high altitudes longer before you consume it. Obviously, boil your water before you washing clothes. Use
So,
extra
Mr.
detergent.
LT, can you go back there for 1 minute and put a pin in that? Because you just something that said something that was so important to avoid allergens and all of that stuff, right? And so people forget that we are still under a pandemic and there is a new strain of this virus that's out. How dare you not call a state of emergency? There's the COVID is still here. Okay, we're still under COVID. It's a brand new strain. And now the very thing that you drilled into our head the first time around with COVID, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Now you can't even wash your hands. Now, like, what
At
the
all.
world? What the world?
Well, imagine if we had no water during COVID. I mean, when the outbreaks first happened. Oh, a lot
Well,
more
if you
people would have died.
remember, we did. Remember, people started buying all of the water and everything off the shelf, and they had to start rationing it out for
Right.
that very reason.
No, but I mean, like the water system's totally shut down like it had in this. We really been and then now keep in mind those rebreather machines. You have people, especially the people that have asthma who need the humidifiers and those who have respiratory failures and got those machines and things like that. What the hell do you think those people are going to do? Say that again, ma'am.
My son has asthma. Yeah, like stuff. People don't know how detrimental it is to the health. Just water is so necessary, and it should not be taken lightly at all.
Right. And I really feel that we should be in an age right now that we should not be paying for water. That's just me. But water purification tablets, they're all over. If you buy anything, go to Walmart and buy that. You'd be surprised at the home, except for those who hunting and things like that. You go to Harbor Freights and some of these other old school wood hunting stores. They got water purification tablets everywhere. Drake's, REI, whatever. Practice good hygiene by hand washing your soaps and stuff. But now some of the things I want people to understand. A lot of people went to the waters, the swimming pools and lakes that have collected water and stuff, and was trying to take the bucket and do all those things. Don't do that. Things like that. That's nothing but algae. You see it green and everything else, and you're so desperate for water, you're doing that. Don't do that. Also, vegetables and your fruit in your home. Boil the water. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but wash it out in hot water and things, and so you can be good with that and such. So please definitely do that. Consume more and pasteurize dairy products and juices, and cook all meats thoroughly. Now, before I continue, we were joined by a wonderful guest. She's straight out. She just flew in from Richmond, decided to go into the office they keep for her at the airport.
That's another queen sister friend of mine.
Things like that. Miss Queen, I'm sorry. I did not have enough money right now to say her name, so I'll let her introduce herself.
Hey there, Stephen. Thank you all so much, and it's good to see you, Tracy. But yeah, this is Teachy. All things children in the city of Richmond is what I'm about. So I was just getting off a conference call with another group of people. We're just trying to understand what is leadership thinking? What are they thinking?
Well, we were talking about that in terms of that. Obviously, you just been in office for a couple of days, but still communication was not done correctly. Some things you can, some things you can't. And even if it's not your fault, that's what happens with it doesn't matter when you wear the crown. That's what happens. You got to bear the fruit with it, regardless if it was planted before you or not. So there's some level of responsibility there, lack of communication. We did talk about the structure of Richmond that the last few years, you built 33 new apartment buildings within a zip code, mile and a half zip code of downtown Richmond, and the pressurizer of the system, the lack of utilizing the space in the brownfields off of 95, with plenty of areas to expand. We talked about we're not getting the truth, whether explosion, pipe freeze, whatever, or a combination of it all. The people have a right to know. We also spoke about that there needs to be a level of accountability. There needs to be a full investigation. We also talked about that the EPA cited in 2022 massive amount of violations that were not made available. Well, made available to the public, but they made sure they buried the story so they didn't talk about it and put pressure on current state officials about it. Richmond, both the governor and the mayor has not reached out to FEMA to try to declare this as a federal emergency, which actually this more than qualifies where you affect over 500,000 people within the region. Richmond, within parts of their region. We talked about the affected in non-affected counties that need to support the area more. And we were just going over some of the things about how affected the schools, but more so life-saving techniques and also what to do within your homes. I know that's a long list. I apologize, but I was just trying to give you a brief synopsis of what we went over. And I would love to have your input on several of these things or what your current feelings as well, ma'am.
Well, listen, I would just say we cannot continue to do the same things. It's just that simple, folks. We will not make any change, nothing. It's all going to be the same. Things are going to continue to happen, and we're all going to be standing back saying, who shot John? The biggest thing for me out of this, and I do appreciate that the current administration received, he hasn't been there for quite some time. Well, he's only been there for a short period of time. I'm concerned, though, that I've worked with this gentleman in the past, and the presentation is from the past. It says that, we want to go about an appearance of transparency and information sharing when we know ultimately, that's not the case. We're only going to give people as much information as we want to give them, and we're going to weigh it. How is it proved? We'll weigh it in such a sense that how does it benefit my political legacy? We lead politically in this region, and I'm just wondering, when are we going to become wise to the fact that time and time again, that when emergencies arise, we're not even prepared to handle them. And then when we do get into a situation, we don't believe that the families we serve are smart enough to even understand and, what's going on. So I just want to use, for example, my biggest pet peeve out of all of this is that when it comes to the education system, we cannot allow a superintendent to jump over into social services lane and say, I'm going to come deliver you pizzas, and we should be grateful when our children need some education products. The learning loss that's happening right now. Let's continue to build on those relationships between the teachers and the parents. Again, I'm just blown away that either our informal leadership, we're not saying anything about this. We're not addressing it at all, and we're being seen as pessimistic, like we're haters and things like that. When folks, have we become so desensitized that when you're being told the truth, you'd rather believe the lie?
Exactly. We have, just to give you a point, Richmond's supposed to be able to hold a capacity of 132 million gallons a day. Now, we all know right now that's not enough. That was the rule. That was the number that was set back in 1990. Now, think of how bad Richmond has grown since. Ms. Epps, we also talked about what happened with Richmond in the 90s with the ice storm that literally shut down the city and the counties and everything else, or what have you there. We also remember, Silk brought a guest on. We also mentioned how south side of Richmond, I can't think of the road now, but off of Middleton Turnpike, all the flooding there. We had the flooding over in Battery Park. All these different issues that should not have taken literally decades. Those who are lifelong Richmonders remember these things happening when they were born in the 50s and 60s, and we still fighting with some of these issues. And what's really sad is that it's not just Richmond, 47 other cities. We know that there's more, But 47 cities have been officially declared as water crisis issues. 3 of them are in the top 10 of the biggest cities in the U.S. in the top, in the top 50 of the world, including Baltimore, San Jose, and Houston. And you would think about the cities and the money that's flowing through those areas, and also outside areas it should be. Baltimore outside the DMV area, San Jose just about 50 an hour or so south of LA. All these different problems, and it should not have happened. It should not be happening in 2025 with what we have in technology. And then, Army Corps of Engineers, everything else. You would think that we saw what happened with the water problem in, 9/11. Also after the different hurricanes in Houston, the big deep freeze Houston and south of Texas was 20 degrees under snow, and crews left the area. We saw what happened with the hurricanes recently last year in Florida, and then also what happened in Asheville, North Carolina, and all those areas from the recent hurricane. Why? Now, obviously, some things can't happen. Like if it was you're not supposed to build these things where other structures could fall onto it. You're supposed to remove the structure or remove the facility. Why we got buildings and trees falling on infrastructure? Okay, these are things that's just okay. You don't even have to go to school. You should see this just natural evolution and common sense. That could cause some problems. This is why you see gates around nuclear plants or power plants and water facilities. It's too easy of access to the facility. I went over a whole list of violations that they went over, which is massive, over 70, 80 different violations. And it has not even been addressed going on 3 years. And just so happened 3 days later, boom, we go from there. And Nika, you was about to say something. I saw you shook your head or something.
I was agreeing with you, Stephen. You're
okay.
pissed. So yes,
I try to give everybody their response and things.
yes.
But moving on from the water issue, not just here in Richmond and around. Unfortunately, we are now just recently dealing with again for I don't know how many years, decades now, fires in California. A lot of people, of course, people love to sit here and give a report above celebrities' homes, but there's just a massive issue regarding the fires in California. Before I go into a summary of what's going on, I want y'all to give your thoughts on it. Ms. Epps, since you're recently joined, please feel free to share your thoughts.
Well, again, I just think none of us can control God. None of us can control this weather. But what we have to understand is the impact of the quality of how we are living on this earth that is impacting us when these things happen. And so for the families in California, again, my heartfelt goes out to them. I think that it appears just from my view that their leadership response is significantly different than what we have, what's going on here. And so when I hear folks say, you can't make that comparison. Yes, you can make that comparison. Yes, you can make that comparison all day. It's not about placing blame or fault, but it's about leadership. If you stepped up into these roles, and these situations like this continue to happen across the country, we need leaders to stand up and say, first, we care, and respond in a timely fashion with the truth. And then, as necessary, have surrounded themselves with teams of individuals who they are subject matter experts. So, that would be my biggest thing that I would say about California, again, in an example of the crisis that we are facing right now.
Mm-hmm. Before I continue, Silk Watson.
I think Chi said it. My heart goes out to them. For anybody, I hope that they're safe or whatever. I lift them up in prayer, but I'm sorry, California is not my priority right now. I can't focus on California. Let California handle what California needs to handle. Fires are not rare to California. Um, my understanding, it is an act of God, and God is trying to tell you something. So I just hope that their leadership pays attention to what needs to be paid attention. I don't want anybody hurt or say things, materialistic things could be replaced, life can't. So in that aspect, and I have family over there, so I really don't want to seem insensitive. But I think one of the things that always gets up underneath my skin, we've got to get to the point we got to start taking care of home first. I don't see nobody in California talking about the Richmond water crisis and how bad that they feel. They're focused on their stuff. Okay. And so we need to focus on our stuff. Um,
Let me pause on that if you don't mind, Quinn. The only reason why
so
one the this is it goes to the overall theme of infrastructure. Ever since Truman and Roosevelt did a whole thing with international money with the roads and infrastructure, whatever. Since then, all these cities and things have been failing with leadership, and it's a common problem. The reason why I'm saying that, and now obviously geologically is different, but there are some things that's similar. Some of the things that we got more vegetation, moisture here in the mountains, whatever. Not to get too much into science, but what happens in the water problems in terms of our infrastructure is also happening out there. And the same thing that's happening out there is happening here. Now, the fires, not so much, but these are some of the same geological issues that's happening on both sides throughout the U.S. The water issue is a water issue. Outside of that basin in the middle of California is out, if nothing else. And that basin feeds as far as Oregon, Nevada, almost up to Wyoming, and New Mexico and Arizona. That feeds all of that area. And they don't have, if something happens, they don't have a disaster plan. Some of the problems with corrosion, eruption, everything. And they're using the same process and methods there versus here. And now you need to have more because of the fires and things like that. And there's also
you gotta show me some regular people, because for the last 3 days, all I've seen is celebrities. Like I've seen Paris Hilton crying about losing her house, one of
Yeah,
20.
no, I got
Like,
I'm a big fan of like stop that. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to. Life is life. I don't care who. But unfortunately, our news cycles have focused too much on which celebrity home is lost and things
right.
versus
That's what I'm saying. Like,
focusing
it's
on
regular
okay.
people affected by this, because like Paris Hilton has like over 20 households. Losing one ain't making or breaking her. Okay, it's probably not even one that she stays in. You know, again, I don't want to seem insensitive, so I'm just gonna say that there's other things that need to be immediate focus on. Okay, and stuff. My heart goes out to California, but I think that that's one of the things that we, especially Black people, right? We are like the compassionate gurus, right? We got so much compassionate in our heart that even through our own shit, we extending compassion to somebody else. Okay. The fact of the matter is that we have got to start focusing on our stuff. At the end of the day, our kids has been out of school for a week. Some of them are already behind. As it is, we've not heard any plan. We have not heard how is this affect. They had already extended the school year, which inconvenienced parents to utmost. These 5 days are going to have to be made up, and hopefully it's only these 5 days is going to be have to made up somewhere at the expense of who. Okay, so that's a concern for me right now. The concern for me again is these pipes are corroded, so even when you fix them, they are still corroded. And so the fact is that we live in a city. We have all of these Black organizations throughout this city, but y'all ain't making no noise. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Y'all ain't making no statement about nothing. Y'all may be having your secret undercover meetings, but that don't do the people out in the community any good, because they're not hearing from you and they're looking for answers. We have a mayor who didn't even handle the damn COVID situation good. So I'm not really confident that he's going to be able to handle this crisis good. We got a transition team that we ain't seen yet. We done heard about all of them, but we ain't seen them. So yeah, I feel really bad for California, but right now my focus is on Richmond, Virginia.
No problem. The show is in live, and I know I hear you. The show is in live and global media, and I want the lessons here to be learned for everybody. not to make the same mistakes. Obviously, and some will listen. We know some, probably most won't. But we have to be, in terms of how we are looking to fix the problems and also prevention. One thing, our hallmark is about education and prevention, and what we share here could be used everywhere. Globally, what's happening with our pipes and water, unfortunately, is also happening not just obviously in the U.S. but a lot of other areas. And the way that some communities, both domestically and internationally, may have solved these problems, we could hopefully learn from them, and vice versa as well. We need to find an equitable way that we can ease
So
this
before you
tension.
go to Queen Anika, let me give you my rebuttal. If we've been having these conversations, then why the hell is Flint, Michigan still going through what Flint, Michigan is going
I
through?
agree.
Why?
I said that first.
Okay, so again, no one's trying to learn these world peace lessons, okay? We need to start holding the people in this city accountable for what's happening with this city. Otherwise, we're going to be 5 and 6 years in, like Flint, Michigan, and everybody else, with our babies drinking green and brown water.
No, I totally agree. No, I don't. Listen, I feel those children in Flint all these years should be going to school for free, not having to pay for lunch. I don't think they all should go to college. Any medical illness, they all should be paid for. All that. No, I agree. We've talked about that when it first happened with Flint. We were doing the show live when that was busting out, and I was like saying this needs to stop. I'm saying that. I'm not saying we're not holding anybody accountable. I'm saying that we need to start listening to each other. We need to start getting the resources. However this city fixed it, wherever in the world, we need to start learning it and do it here. Same thing for not just here, but any of the cities in this states, because it's sad what's happened in Baltimore for all their water and the corrosion that they're going on. Some of the people can still have to boil the water and things going on there. And now we're potentially in the same situation. Unfortunately, I'm willing to declare it that we're in the same situation, and this needs to be declared as a federal emergency. We need to also, one of the things that y'all mentioned before is about the bills and things. What needs to also happen is that literally almost this month and possibly going forward, some discount and some arrangement needs to be made with Virginia Power. They need to shut up Dominion Energy. They need to shut up. They still charging all this money, even though they got a ton of money from the federal government to make up all the electric usage that they supposed to be discounted. And they still say they broke. And we all know they're not. But there needs to be an arrangement with the city and surrounding counties for Dominion Energy for those affected, and the water, so that what's going on, and start building from there. Reach out to the people here, and from ground zero, what do you need? How was you affected? And if they yell, so what? You deserve it. If they mad, so what? That's what happens. But we have to get past the yelling and look at solutions and fixing immediately. Do we got to get the Army Corps of Engineers up in here and start doing something? Whatever it needs to really. We can't just tear it down, because obviously we have to have something right. But we need to build a whole new, brand new infrastructure city and fix it as if it's holding 2 million people, even though we don't have nowhere near that number of people. But fix it as something reasonable that can support the pressure and meet federal guidelines. And then once that's up and running, shut down the other one and tear that down and things. We can't just immediately shut it down, because we have to have running water. But we need to have a two-step process in order to resolve the issue immediately. That's really what needs to happen. Ms. Nika?
I think we need to stop pretending like we have leadership in any place. We have people who are more. I think we need to stop throwing that word down like that's something that's happening. Like, we're talking about California, Baltimore. Like, at the end of the day, we can do all the rallying we want to. We have people who want to be seen and who want to pocket money. Mm-hmm. They don't care. They don't care about our well-beings, because it does not take 3 years for something to corrode. They've not been caring for a while. And I don't really think they care about the color. I think they care about the class. So if you're rich, Paris Hilton, of course, you're going to make it on TV, because in California, is Richmond on TV about this water crisis? Did y'all see it? Are y'all able to, so the problem at the end of the day are the people who are saying that they are going to take care of us. They're not going to take care of us. And us is not going to take care of us because we don't have leadership to show us that, to show us how. We're going to keep on going like this. And I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just saying that these things are happening back to back. You have fires in California. Why? Because nobody understands science. Nobody understands what's happening. Nobody respects God and his work and to put into things into place to make sure they can navigate. Nobody, we keep talking about these things like resilience and whatnot. We can have all the resilience that we want if we don't have a leader. And since people don't respect God, who is leading us? So we can talk about, we need the mayor, the councilman, the whoever. Where are all these people that knocked on your door for anything for the last 3 to 4 years to get anything? Where are these people checking on you? Did they bring you a bottle of water or did they need a photo?
They can knock on my door to get a vote. You can knock on my door to get a vote, but you can't knock on my door to help me and ask if I need water.
Well, you better not knock on my door at all. So that's how I'm feeling, So that better not happen. So my problem is I don't care how many days somebody has been in here. We know whoever has gotten the mayor who's here for 6 days. But watch this. That mayor knew that this was going to happen. All of them know. So let's stop pretending like they don't know. They're doing this because they shake the hands of each other. They line their pockets. They do just enough to look good. And they let those who can survive the best way they can and give a damn about those who are at the bottom. That is how this system is set up. This system is set up like this from the top of our federal government down to our states because we're allowing it, because we're putting people in these leadership positions who have more money than us. That's it. That's my take.
There's a couple on the screen right now for those who are not seeing it live and just maybe listening to this audibly. This is a couple recently today around early this morning what the cup of water looks like coming out. And they said this, and they telling you to boil the water. That's a hell of a lot of boiling right there. I
think we should get tired of getting insulted too. Stop. Yeah. Let's stop having conversations about boiling water. Let's stop having conversations about let's talk about the fact that a lot of the city is overrun with feces. What about the bacteria? What about these hospitals? The VA does not have water, where our vets are, where they also hold hospice, where people have bedpans, where people have to get their things changed. So we're using hand sanitizer. I don't give a doggone about that cup of water. Like, what actually is going to happen? Are we going to let these people die, clean them out, and then depend on this new generation to take care of us who are not going to care about us because they're learning these lessons from the people who are running the country now?
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. If Flint is still going on, don't give a damn about Richmond because it'll carry on just as long. Exactly. You tell me what that's going to look like. This you keep talking about we need to rally together and do what? We ain't got no money. We ain't got no power. We can't rally.
We can't rally. You can't rally.
You want to have a rally? You really think I'm protesting for anything after last? No, sir. You don't stop playing in my face. Okay.
Oh, I'm not calling. No, I was not calling for that. Don't come after me. I said that we need to start working together to solve these issues and things and start address it. Hold on, I'm about to get it. Address it like I was going through earlier and things about these are the different systems and things that we could fix. Let me go back. I was about to go into the. Let me take this off. I was about to go into the different resources that we could need to share. But no, some of the things that we need to do to solve the problem, like I said, we need to start repairing what we can with the water, start having a safety plan, start addressing the people who have been in charge. They need to go back and start being, actually, this is criminal. Okay, this is a criminal issue, charging some, not just fired. Some people need to go to jail because if you're being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars as officials in regulatory checks and you're not doing it, and some of these checks were.
I'm sorry, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it right now. If we are inaugurating somebody who has 34 felony counts, who going to jail, boo?
Exactly.
I gotta ask. I'm sorry. It's criminal. But criminals run this country.
Exactly.
Okay, I hear you. Okay, that does not mean you should not do it. Okay, just like how we were just saying earlier to me that how just because someone does it, that doesn't mean you don't get to do it. Trust me, I get it. But just because Johnny was able to run down the street butt bald naked and nobody bothered him because he's white, that doesn't mean we don't. The next white person should be allowed to do it just because one does it. That we still have a job to do. Okay, we still have a responsibility. I hear you, but we still have a responsibility to ourselves and to as a community to take care of home first and do what we need to do and to go through the charges. Now, again, how do we fix it? We charge people. We still go after. We start holding people accountable. We demand to do the FOIA. We understand what's happening. We need to know. We can't fix. To be honest, we can't fix it if we do not even know the simple basis of what Ms. Epps said of what actually happened. Okay,
but what Anika is saying, Mr. LP, is in the perfect world, what you're saying makes sense. But all of that shit went away with the election. People do not care, obviously, and to be honest with you, and in a way, it's like you starting to get what you deserve. Because there's people that's on this phone that's been telling people for a long time, pay attention to your local elections. Go out to your local elections. See what they're talking about. Stop letting them come into your neighborhoods, kissing your babies and bringing hot dogs and bouncy things, and then you don't see them anymore or whatever and stuff. And so you guys said it when you said, okay, when everybody wanted to vote, they all was all over you. You got newsletters all in. They wanted to see you, take pictures with you and stuff. Now, where are they now? Okay, but we don't hold anybody accountable for, right? And this is exactly what's going to happen. What's going to happen is everybody that's up in the uproar right now because of this water crisis, right? But when the master says that all is well, everybody gonna go dormant.
Act like nothing's happened.
Exactly. They're gonna act like nothing's happened until something else go on. Instead of being mad as hell that you put me in this position, instead of being mad as hell that you still got to give me answers, that you've been giving me water with corroded pipes that y'all knew about, instead of you being mad as hell that y'all got cited in 2022 and thought and had the audacity not to even respond until 5 days before this incident. And then that makes my red alarm stand up. Why did you wait till then to respond? Did you know that the Band-Aid was getting ready to come off and you was trying to protect your ass, so you went and put it? When I'm reading a post that says that there was a manual lever on this thing that could have eliminated this, but nobody knew where it was, but you are the director of something making almost $200-something thousand a year, and you don't even know where the backup button is, then I have a problem. But again,
I agree.
But again, the people who are saying this, the majority of us, I don't live in the city. I don't get to vote in the city. I get to volunteer my time and try to pour in as much to the city to help a city that I don't even live in. And then what I do is I get people's ass, right? I get people that want to side eye you. I get people that want to be your frenemy. I get people who don't like me, who don't know me because of some shit somebody else said. So until we put all of that stuff aside and realize that this is not a game, like my girlfriend Sylvia Edmonds says, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is real life. And if you think it is bad now, in 15 more days, you get ready to see the for real, when this dumbass first order of business is to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And you think that we ain't in for some sugar? Come on now.
And then you got Greenland. Greenland is fortifying their military because the doggone man trying to invade. So you want to copy a Putin and you want to sit there and say, oh, he did it, look good. Well, I'm going to go hit a defensive, somewhat defensive country and things. So you think Greenland and the Dutch, more or less the Norwegian, the Balkan area is going to go ahead and accept that mess? Come on now. You're going to start World War III over Greenland. For what? And you see the news out there saying trying to make some strategic military advantage. We got the largest and the biggest, maybe not the most competent, but we got the largest and biggest military in the doggone thing. We got 3 times more planes, trains, trucks, and everything else than anybody else out there in the dang world. Why we need it? We got more satellites.
I do. So all of these wonderful, elaborate things you just talked about that America has, and little old Richmond's water system can't be fixed. And
that's what my point
can't be fixed. So it is quite advantageous that you want to believe in us as a people. That's great, and I applaud that. And I'm not. And again, I agree. I want to help my fellow man and whatnot. But there's a part of me that I understand God's design and His decree. And as I move throughout this earth, understanding that, I am going to be obedient to my intuition in my spirit and be guided just to continue to love while this chaos is going on. This is not my chaos. This is not my battle. So no, God bless California, God bless Richmond, and I'm going to keep moving. But I'm not going to pretend like it's going to change these demons at the top of this triangle. No, and I'm not going to get in no street and pretend like somebody going to jail for stuff that they do every day and been doing.
No, I'm just no. My point is
she get in trouble because her tan line is too dark. So she gonna be the sacrificial lamb. Trust and believe that.
Who? Which one?
The director of public utilities. She getting ready to be the sacrificial lamb. She going to either voluntarily resign or something because they got the powers to be have got to sacrifice somebody, and so they get a 2-for-1. They get a woman and a black woman at that. So she's as good as done. She's as good as done.
Oh yeah, she's a
minority who didn't even know they were being a part
DEI hire. She's going to be the DEI hire that we let get away. She was never qualified and all the other foolishness and things. Ms. Epps, I see that wonderful glow in your eyes that's triggering, but please join in.
Yeah, I just wanted to, in bringing this back home, what we have to understand is that we've been touting year after year, the state don't give us enough money for education. Education is underfunded. Folks, that's not true. It's how we are choosing to distribute that money. For instance, the city has been touting that we're fully funding schools. But they didn't tell you that they was transferring the money from the maintenance needs to do that. So instead of doing your annual maintenance on our infrastructure, you wanted to have a political win. Say, hey, look, we're funding schools where your governor ain't giving us enough money. We keep asking for more, and the people are getting less. And again, the people have checked out. The people have said, Jack, I'm so busy trying to survive every day. I can't get caught up in that. And that's the fallacy of all of this. We have got to stand up. We have got to tell these folks the truth. We've got to get out of our own way and stop wanting to be in a position where I took a picture with my delegate. I'm not concerned about taking pictures with my delegate. I'm not concerned about my delegate bringing me turkeys. I'm not concerned about my delegate bringing me pizza. Working with the local school division to give me pizza, to give our children pizza. In our education system, we already know if we look at it like infrastructure, that's some failed infrastructure over there. So what are we going to do about not improving upon that system, building in other systems that will work so that folks can have options? We're not beholden to folks that, as she was saying, you play in our face. These are our children that have to come into these environments. And all we hear is your parents checked out, parents ain't paying attention, your kids can't even read. Well, they got to stop saying that, because I know, Tracy, your grandkids can read, can't they? My grandkids can read. You're going to stop talking about our children and our families as if we lack, because we really don't. We really do not. If we are obedient to what God has given us and stop being beholden to man and want to be liked by everybody, we can be in a much better position than we are in right now. Again, the families, after they say to you that, well, we fixed this, we can't, it's not been fixed. It's not been fixed.
Exactly.
And we can't
Mhm.
just go along and say everything is okay now. Again, like Tracy said, until the next crisis, we've got to have people who first, you got a background, you have an understanding in this. I mean, for even our new mayor, I appreciate his medical degree, and I appreciate that, it would appear on his face that he has a level of understanding of what could potentially be going on, and that's why he might make this good leader. But I say all that to say that man stood in front of that camera to say, I don't know, I don't have the answer to that. I don't. And he said it as nice as he could. But at the end of the day, because had he been as demonstrative as I'm being and saying, hell no, folks, this don't work, whoever's responsibility it was, you don't know, you gotta go, and they gotta go now. And we gotta start bringing in people who know what to do. Because I think in this old big world, and I'm on one right now, what we have to recognize is that some of these folks, because they are individually in their own selfishness and their own egos that get them into these positions, they're not going to turn around and really look out for you. They're going to surround themselves by yes men, yes women, because that's how, again, we got the president we got. So now everybody's thing is going to be about, heck, if he's president, who the hell we going to hold accountable? Who we gonna hold accountable, y'all?
Let me give you a couple of things to remind me. When you said that somebody standing up there and saying, "Look, this is going to happen. This is going to happen." Remember when the riots and Lord forgive me, the young man that they literally executed. In the back of the bus, the van, the police van, and then they had the riots in Baltimore.
Freddie Gray.
Thank you. Things like that. When John Lewis sat there and said, "No, I want answers. I did not know, but this is what's going to happen," and he got in everybody's face and what have you. Before all the other scandal, the last governor in New York. Before the whole scandal with the nursing homes and stuff. But he sat up there in front of the whole daggone nation and said, "We're going to do this, this, this. Screw you, Trump. We're going to get this," and took accountability. He said, "I don't know, but this is what's going to happen. I wasn't here, but it's my fault. I'm governor now, and I'm going to get SHI, sugar, honey, iced tea done. This is what's going to happen." I appreciate before all the scandal, but I appreciate the level of leadership that said, "I'm going to stand there, I'm going to take accountability, and this is what we're going to do. Here's an action plan." That's what we needed, and that's what's missing from all of these different things. To go, the second thing both of y'all were mentioning about education, we need to go back to showing how these things work. We can't go, I'm all the one for electronics and technology, but you can't go forward if you don't understand how the basic things work. Because now when you get your nice new toy, you don't know what to do. And at level Y, I and every other super tech out there get all the calls in the world because people do not want to read daggone instruction books and things. You don't even want to sit there and watch the dang video. It tells you. Heck, you don't even got to press a button. You can just say Google, Siri, Cortana, or whatever, Alexa, whatever, and it talks to you. And you still don't want to do that. Why? Because we got brain dead and lazy. Okay, and figure it out. Okay, we wouldn't have the technology if we didn't sit back and read all these things. So yes, education is a big component, and I am a big proponent for the fact that the lack of education, especially in the South and Midwest, is profound and common sense. And some things got to change. The last part about it that I didn't get a chance to about what needs to be done. We need, besides inefficiencies and replacing the pipes and stuff, smart water technologies and things that we can actually do, not just with the government, but what we could do within our homes. Those of you who got backyards or whatever, monitoring systems, rainwater collectors, identify the water leakage, go through and see how the water is being used in your home. They got some of the systems out there got the monitoring. You can log in online, see how water is being used, what time, how much temperature. You got the always on systems. You got induction water systems. You got the new heat pumps that shows you all these different things and stuff like that. Utilize the tools. If you can sit online and play the damn video games, lottery, and everything else, you can take 5 seconds in the app and look at what's being used and utilize the safety. Show your children. So you can say, okay, this is how we're going to use water in your home. Go back to doing those functional things. Nika, you and I talked about this a while back about the functional things that we could do within your homes and technologies that tech and non-tech combine to make things better. Okay, we focus on. We talked about it in the homes, but we need the whole country need to get out of this damn lead pipe thing. Okay, even before it was installed, where there was dangers, and you knew it was dangerous, but you didn't care because it was cheap. Okay, especially push it out for the war, and you abused. Let it be known, you abused the indigenous and the women who were working at the time while the men were at war. Okay, let's not talk about that. That's another story. Also, we need to make aware. This is again heavy on science. We hear about E. coli and cooking your food all the way, blah blah blah. But we need to start talking about all the different contaminants out there, airborne and within your water, the types of allergies and things, and what it could be done. And also, this is where we talk about racial infrastructure situation. Okay. Certain allergies and things will hurt people more. And guess who was living on South Side and East End more? Us. The people of color, mostly Black people. Okay, did not care. Just like how we talk about environmental justice, racial justice, where you planted certain trees on South Side that you know is going to cause more asthma problems, but you decrease the level of hospital medical care and insurance available to South Side. Same thing with the water. Same thing was happening in other cities with the water. So let's talk about that. We also do with public awareness campaign. We went through all the schools talking about learn, stop, drop, and roll. We talked about cigarettes. We talked everything else. Well, we need to start talking about safety conscious and water conscious and fire conscious and what not to do in the home. We could do stop, drop, and roll. Stranger danger. All those different things we teach the kids, we can start doing that about water and electricity and candles and fires and things like that. Why are we now still, however many years of tobacco, people falling asleep, teenagers now vaping, falling asleep in the bed and starting fires and everything else, or cigarettes? Why? We need to also incentivize, if we're going to give tax breaks to everything else, then we need to start giving tax breaks in the homes and people who's looking to save water and do energy conscious things. Stormwater management system, that's another thing. Water recycling programs that need to go back. Rainwater harvesting. These are things we were taught. So I'm quite sure, didn't you learn of rainwater harvesting in the city in New York?
Yeah.
I'm quite sure. Yeah. So all these different things we talked about not too long ago. I forgot to change the new name for it, but basically planting your seed fruits and plants with the bottled water or boil your water and things like that to grow the stuff at the home, so you have resources and things when something naturally happens. All these things that needs to happen in a community partnership program. Yes, we are in the mode of frustration. You effed around and find out. I get it. But at the same time, and we got to take care of our own. Well, this is what we need to do. Start going to action, start going after people. And if you don't if it's not about whatever political party, who's going to get the job done and who's going to listen to the people and go after it. And I'm going to make a message. All those political people out there. Exactly. Yeah. But all those political people out there that was knocking on doors and then you didn't win. Okay. That doesn't mean your job is done. You still have a rights and responsibility, because how am I supposed to trust you when, just because something didn't work out in your favor, now you're just going to just act like whatever do you still care about the community? What are you looking to do? So that now next time something happens, I have a little bit more favor in your eye because you actually stayed involved, stayed active, whether you got my vote or not. What are you doing? That's going to be the key. And things, and that's what's going to happen. Strengthen our communities. This is how you strengthen your communities, especially our Black and brown communities. This is how you improve the education system, because not just what's taught in book. These are actionable items that you're doing on an everyday basis. So those things are very important. So again, please look out what's happening in your communities and do what you need to do. I'm not going to let this run too long. We're at hour 43 and things, and I appreciate everybody that take the time out to listen to the podcast or what have you. Before I do a final thoughts, I want to let everybody have their moment in a few words. Miss Epps, please. And first of all, please again, for those who may not know, who caught you, missed it in the beginning, what you do and who you are.
Oh, okay. I am right now. I work with my own agency, EBS Educational Enterprises, which was born out of the fact that I did serve as the school board trustee in the city of Richmond from 2012 to 2016. And that firsthand experience in the political arena um, is what fuels the reason why I'm still motivated today, because this is about service to each other. And it's not about titles. It is about accountability. It is about accountability. My final words would be, listen, folks, we got to stop falling for the okie doke. We know better and we've got to do better. We allowed people to marginalize our existence. And we need to do something about that. So those would be my comments.
Amen. Amen. Ms. Anika, your final thoughts, ma'am?
I simply think that we just need to, again, to just be intentional about our individual movements. And then I do think we always need to work with each other in our communities. However, unless somebody has a remedy to change leadership in their mind and what a leader is supposed to be, and go back to what the substance of a leader is supposed to have, we're going to always have leadership problems, period. And so, with that being said, we just need to continue to have these thoughtful conversations. We need to be aware, and we need to help those who want help, who help themselves. Period. That's my final thought.
That's why we're here to provide. We want to help those who want to be helped. We can't save everybody, but those who want to be, who want the help and information, that's why we're here. Silk?
I don't have a final thought. It's open ended, because it's kind of like when, as a parent, you keep telling your children things over and over again, and to the point that you get to the point where I'm not going to keep repeating myself. I done already gave you this warning. And so that's to the mindset that I have now, is that we tried to warn you and you wouldn't listen. We keep trying to warn you and you wouldn't listen. So now we either going to do like the Queen said, get together and work together and make a difference, or you get what you get. And unfortunately, some of us know that that means that we're going to have to strap on our boots and suffer with you, because it's a collective effort. And so that's where I'm at now. We can go around and around. It's not a finger pointing thing. We've tried to educate people on voting. You didn't pay attention. We tried to educate you on Project 2025. You didn't pay attention. We tried to educate you that your mayor in your city had checked out a long time ago and who was manning the store. You didn't pay attention. We tried to educate you on voting for people and putting people in office, not because they're cool and they bought you, like Teachy said, turkeys and stuff, but people that are really, really boots on the ground and doing the work. And still, you didn't pay attention. So it goes back to how my grandmother used to say, I could show you better than I could tell you. And that's my final thought.
Amen. Amen. You said you didn't have a final thought, but you gave one. You gave an excellent one. I'm mad at you. Don't tell those lies.
And you bought all those turkeys and you can't even wash them. That was going to be my thought after that. Okay.
Damn a jewel. Okay. First and foremost, before I get into it, let everybody know that we are in great good need of services and help and support and things. Like I said, it costs a lot to have these shows. Besides, the technology costs, Raw Silk comes with a fee. Miss Walston comes with a fee, and all our guests comes with a fee. I guess nothing and things like that. It takes a lot to keep this smooth skin going and things like that and all those things. But we understand, my spa care is very important to me. But in all seriousness, we really want to continue our great show here, and we cannot do it without you. Other things, just plain and transparent. The cost of streaming apps, to utilize these services jumped up to $50 things a month, plus all the other things that goes along in production, resources, everything else. It does take a lot, and we really could use your support. We do have Zelle and Cash App and things, but we also are on Patreon. We've been up for those who are long term for a number of years. We've been on there for some time, but I want to make everybody know at Patreon, patreon.com/Enliven Global Media. ENLIVEN Global Media altogether. And you'll see a number of packages and resources, everything from $5 up to $500, whatever or you can even customize your support. Also, we have Cash App, $IAMMRLP, Zelle, enlivengm@gmail.com, whatever your heart feels, because we really could use your support and to be able to make this happen. It's really important to us to reach out. And also sometimes we have different things going on that we do like to try to donate, such as like a few weeks ago, we had Miss Chastain come in about her needing kidney replacement. We also have children. We have other things. So we really try to be a service in the community, and especially something like today. We would love to be able to gift and help support some other people who are in need of water, clothes. Right now, a lot of our children are suffering and don't have anything. And I want people to think about that fact that there are still a lot of people, children are homeless or sleeping in cars or in and out of hotels that don't. Now it's one thing is be homeless. Now you don't have water. Okay, I mean, you can't even the places that may let you come in and shower, and you may not be able to get to somewhere to go shower or what have you, and then using the bathroom at the gas stations or whatever, and now you don't have anything. Think about that and things. So those type of things is important. My final thoughts is that we have to work for those who want to work together. We have to go back to the drawing board, and those who need to be in the meetings, be in those meetings. Just like how we have met in the barns at certain churches, barns of certain families and farms to certain churches, certain basements, whatever. Not everybody was allowed to come because not everybody is of service, regardless of color. Not many people is always as a skin folk, or not everybody was in service. And that's sadly what's going on now. Those who want to make change, we need to build our power base back up. And that starts with working with those who want to help each other and work with themselves and your families, who want to grow, and those who want to listen. And through that we take those who want to change and those who are still about that change and things. We can't worry about those who don't want to listen anymore and things, because they're going to do their own thing. When they learn their lesson, okay, they can come back. But right now we have to move forward with what we have. Right now we're frustrated. We're mad, we're angry, not just with the election, but just life in general, and things are getting hard out there. And soon we're going to have a frankly put an idiot in office coming in. And because people just think it's funny, don't care, didn't listen, whatever the case may be. Hate of a woman doesn't matter. We need true leadership. And leadership starts I've always said, leadership starts at the top, the middle, and the bottom. It comes from everywhere in all different types. You may not have to be the rah-rah person. You can be the one behind the scenes. You can be what have you. You have your planners, you have your doers, we have your enforcers, and you have your people that organize and clean up at the end. Find your lane. You can't do all. Sometimes it requires two. You either do two, but you can't do all four at the same time. Okay? And that's what's happening here. Too many people are worrying about their egos. Too many people are worrying about their checks. Where is all the money that's been spent? And Richmond is one of the highest in the nation of water bills. And we have one of the poorest, if not the poorest, of water systems. It doesn't equal up. And we should have been singing stuff, not just the people here on this panel and those who are listening, but those, for many, did not listen and did not care. As long as it's on, I keep on going, go to work and come on, lay my head on a pillow. There's more to it than that. Improving Richmond's water system will require a multifaceted approach. Okay, that includes modernizing the infrastructure, addressing the contaminations, fix the parody water conversation. Sorry, it's hard with the new tongue and teeth and stuff like that. But water conservation and have a sustainable interest in water management. That includes, recycling and everything else around there, and learning the basic things of how to take care of yourself, because technology, one good EMP and we all done. Okay. One good bomb, we all done. I mean, whatever the case, or one good outage, You know what happened with everybody 10, 15 years ago when New York had that big brownout in New York and all of New York City and everything was out? Guess what? We partied like hell and things. It was fine. We kept on going. People got out the metros and walked and things. We did whatever you can. And it's the same thing. And I'm just using it as an example. Paris was out with a water system and things, and the railways was down. What they did, found a way. We love to sit there and talk about our African culture as a sign of pride and joy, but so many of people in our community can't seem to look at what's going on in Africa now and what they doing without water. Some of them have water and still can't get to it. What are they doing? Look at our culture and their indigenous. What did our people do when they couldn't get water after working all day? Learn our history. Again, when you forget your history and your education past, you're doing the committed in the future. Collaboration between those who are willing to work with us in government, getting the right people, homegrown agencies, and homegrown people to get into the government and help make those changes that we need. Because obviously the ones there are not going to do it. But it's not going to stay like that. It's going to stay that way until we build our power base and fix ourselves what we have and then go forward and things. Work on our key private sectors, those who are enabling themselves financially, get involved, put the pressure on the right people that we can make effectively change, and those we can do within our city governments, within ourselves, get the right answers. Here in Richmond, Virginia, and the surrounding areas, I implore you, do your job, demand answers, find out the answers. Not only top of that, take care of your family. Boil the water, do what you need to do for your home and safety and things. You know the right thing. We don't need to sit here and belabor the point. You know what's right and wrong. It's up to you to do the right thing. Take the lessons that Silk, Arthur, Annika have offered, Ms. Epps, and everybody else that's listening. And thank you to all our listeners. Thank you for Mr. Spears for watching and listening and sharing the information. Because this is not the only time we're going to have this conversation. And we're going to keep coming up with new solutions about this, money, life, your future, and everything else. But again, it takes one step forward. Right now, we can't just take baby steps anymore. We have to make actionable steps and continuous, consistent steps. I believe in you, and we can do better. I believe in an All-Father upstairs that's going to look out for us, but we have to take advantage of the gifts that He's given us. God bless you. Thank you so very much, everybody. Please feel free to leave a message, comment, what have you, in livengm@gmail.com. We're here for you. Even if you comment after the show, we do respond and do everything else and so forth. And yes, I just want to let everybody know that General in Africa, who messages every single time, yes, author Anika Walston is available and things like that. Shoot me an email and I'll give you her number and we'll take care of it from there. Okay. But there's an extra, make sure you give my 5% fee. I thank y'all very kindly and may y'all have a great and blessed day. Bye-bye.